In recent episodes of Prophetic Perspectives, we've touched on the Black Lives Matter movement and organization and some of the dangers that it presents to American society. Today we're going to talk about the tremendous danger it presents to the family. Nathan, over the last 2 or 3 days, we've talked about Black Lives Matter as an organization and as a movement, as opposed to just the statement that, yes, Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. But today, let's consider their ideology and the implications it has for the family, because they're very clear about what they believe
absolutely
regarding the nuclear family.
Folks, if you want to know what Black Lives Matter believes, just go to their website, blacklivesmatter.com, and you can see here on their What We Believe statement, they say it affirms black women and is free from sexism, misogyny, which is a word that means anything men being in charge or men hating women, as they see men hating women, and environments in which men are centered. We dismantle the patriarchal practice, in other words, where men have any kind of authority. And here's where they believe about family. We disrupt the Western prescribed nuclear family. And when we talk about nuclear family, we're talking about a father, mother, children, a stable nuclear family. So they don't want men in charge. They don't want to have men have power, and they don't want the nuclear family anymore. Is that biblical?
No, it's clearly not biblical. As a matter of fact, God, we've already cited in previous episodes, Jesus Christ said in the beginning, He created male and female and gave men to be married to women. In other words, He said, for this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. And this institution which God created, this is not a government institution. Obviously, you get a marriage license in today's society, but the institution itself was created by God. It is blessed by God. It is a covenant relationship as understood by Scripture. And so what God has joined together, we are not supposed to separate. And in this case, they're just trying to destroy that nuclear family. You
know, the true tragedy of this, if folks know Candace Owens, she's an African-American commentator. She says, no one, not a single solitary person defended or excused the death of George Floyd, obviously. So why is this rioting happening? Because that is what the media wanted. Black America, wake up, enlighten yourselves. Do not be owned by a mainstream media agenda. And the mainstream media agenda is a destruction of the nationalism so we can get this global government. They're working towards that. And she has frequently said that the biggest tragic problem amongst the black community is the lack of fathers. How 1 in 4 families have a father that's still active in raising their kid. And all the statistics and all the studies prove that the nuclear family is the glue that creates stability, that teaches morality, and that families that are broken end up being usually suffering from a wide variety of social and emotional problems. The nuclear family is what God gave us to build a society. And when BLM wants to destroy that foundation, then there is no moral or ethical choice. And what do we see? We see rioting in the streets. We see destruction. We see this idea of utopianism. We see Marxism. And that is the result of the breakdown of the nuclear family.
You know, Nathan, this problem was recognized years ago. There was a time when the black family in America was actually one of the most intact institutions and provided a lot of stability even during times like the Depression, World Wars. The black family was a source of cohesiveness and stability and provided a connection for the entire community. But that changed. As a matter of fact, in the 1960s, the Great Society created by President Johnson led to an explosion of welfare and other programs that undermined the black family. As a matter of fact, Daniel Patrick Moynihan, who later became a United States Senator, a very academic guy, did an extensive study, and he said these programs, these welfare programs, are going to destroy the black family because they're actually promoting the removal of fathers from families. Wow. And the liberals said, oh, you're crazy. That's not going to be a problem, but it's true. There was a time, again, leading up to the 60s where black families were more intact than Caucasian or any other ethnicity in terms of their family unit, and yet that's been flipped on its head today. And the number of children born out of wedlock, as statistics say, are creating the kind of pathologies that we are seeing in many communities with crime going rampant, with homelessness and other mental problems, because there is not the cohesive family unit providing stability, especially for children, but extending beyond that. And that's the very unit that God instituted to be the base of all human government. We should first exist within a community at home, a mother, a father, children. That's the ideal. And yet Black Lives Matter wants to undermine that. And once again, it's giving, I guess, proof to its ideology of a Marxist mentality of oppression and oppressors. And so men are seen as the oppressor, and they must be removed from women and children who are the oppressed. And so what a tragic ideology that will lead to even more terror and horror in our own nation.
It goes back to what Hillary Clinton said years ago, that it takes a village to raise a child. It's that socialist Marxist agenda. But certain African-American commentators are looking through that. Brandon Tatum, a former police officer, says, "Don't let the media fool you. The majority of Americans support the police, do not support the destroying of their city. The biggest problem with growing up black in America is not racism, police brutality, or black-on-black crime. It's the mental brainwashing." And he's referring to exactly what you said, this breakdown of the nuclear family, as so that you're loyal to the state and not to family anymore. Jason Riley, a journalist, he says, "Black activists and white progressives stress racism because it serves their own interests, not because it actually improves the station of blacks." So you got to ask yourself then, does BLM as an organization actually support black people? I think as we've gone through what we believe, we've seen their anti-biblical stance, their anti-freedom stance, their anti-liberty stance, their anti-American stance. Again and again, it's a destruction of what God has instituted. So as Christians, should we support them? I don't believe so. Clearly not. The evidence is there. Folks, we love black people. We think they matter. But the organization BLM does not really love black people. And we need to take them seriously and not support them.